The altar of God. Look at, I'm reading here. The altar of God. What? I just can't. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, and I'm super excited about what we got going on today. And I got a great show for you. Let's go. This show is titled At the Altar of Gold. At the Altar of Gold. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday morning. It's February 8th. It's 9:04. I was a little early yesterday, and so I was a smidge late today. I had headset. It's just so many silly. I wonder what professionals go through. I know why they have so many producers and editors and directors and people taking care of them, because there's so many little things that go on to producing a show, let alone like writing it and getting content and putting it around. So I got to thank you guys so much for coming along this journey with me, this Wired Differently journey with me, this mindset, this mission, this movement, in this ministry. And the bulk of this show that you get with me every morning is the ministry and the movement. Especially now, we've got so many cool things happening with the movement. We're really gaining some wind in our sail, if you will. We've put together wireddifferently.com. Now, it was the very first website that I had built, wireddifferently.com, and it kind of had dormant a little bit. And I got a great story about that and how this kind of resurgent of basically my mindset being more on the movement and ministry than all the events and everything I was doing. And so I think it's a great story, and it kind of ties into the title of, in a perverse way, in an awkward way, At the Altar of Gold. Now, if you saw the promo for the show, I put a promo. It was up around 8:00 this morning. I need to get that up around 6:00. I got distracted a little bit, and I didn't get the promo. But At the Altar of Gold, and it's about a video I watched from a man by the name of Richard T. Kiyosaki. And I think a lot of you who follow reels and follow money and have read some really influential books in their life when it comes to investment. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is up there in some of the investment mindset that I have in my own personal business life. And I think we'll just talk about that a little bit, because I was just so honked off at the reel that I saw this morning from Richard T. Kiyosaki that, I always thought he was a little out there anyways, right? This is social media. I can say what I want. I'm not going to disparage the man, but I always thought he was a little out there. I never met with him. I've met some people that have met with him, and people want his endorsement. I'm not looking for his endorsement, so I'm not so worried about, whatever the ramifications might be by calling Richard T. Kiyosaki out on the table. I think some of his financial wisdom is valuable. I think that I have leveraged debt to make money in my life, and so that's the cornerstone of what Richard T. Kiyosaki is talking about in the beginning of his life. But I just feel like if you've watched his career progress, at his height, he was very prevalent with Rich Dad Poor Dad, and how he learned how to borrow money at a certain interest rate, leverage that, and put it into areas that could generate more return than the interest was costing. I mean, that's just really the principle of everything that he's doing. And of course, Grant Cardone, right? And I have done some of that. I've talked to some of my clients about how to take lesser debt money and use it to invest it into more interest bearing or more capital creating or more income generating hard assets, right? But this morning, I just saw a reel of this guy, and I just my mind went, just blew up. And so as we're moving through the Wired Differently success loop, I was thinking to myself, I've really got to make sure everybody understands that the holy grail or the holy ground or the pinnacle of what you're trying to do in life is not to make money. It's a fundamental principle of Wired Differently. And I think that I want to share that with you this morning. I mean, we had a lot of fun yesterday telling about the story of me going back to Dick's Sporting Good. And this is one of the shirts I got on the 3 exchange where the deal kept getting better, get better. A lot of you followed me and saw that like that story. We had a great day yesterday morning. But today I'm going to finish up with the whole process of the Wired Differently success loop. We're going to go back and we're going to really talk about really the fundamental piece of the Wired Differently success loop. And as I was preparing for that message, this reel popped up and I'm like, man, I got to get real about this REAL. I got to get real about this process, because we got people out there like Richard T. Kiyosaki that are just not wired differently. They're not in the flow of obviously the spiritual side of it. Now, some of the things he says makes a lot of sense. Like if you got to have debt, use that debt, find debt that's cheaper than where it can be invested so that it can give you a bigger return. So let's say you borrow money back in the day when we were borrowing money, not even back in the Trump administration. Not only 3 years ago, we had mortgage rates of less than 4% on our houses. Not only 4 years ago, you could put a home equity line on your house at literally 3%, 4%, 5%, something crazy like that. I mean, you could go out and invest your HELOC or your line of credit on your home in something and bring back 15, 20% on that investment. And you're moving 15 points all the way around the board. And man, if you're buying assets with it, that's appreciating over time because the economy was moving. And so that all makes a lot of sense. But you got a guy like Richard T. Kiyosaki out there still banging that drum at 8 points, 8%. I mean, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And now he's out here telling me to buy gold. But it's not that's the disturbing thing. I guess people are still buying gold. I tried the gold rush thing. I literally had a friend go out to Alaska and he was out mining. He says, give me some money. I want to go mine some gold. I was okay. So I gave him 15 grand. He went out there and he was mining gold. And he brought me back this bag of gold. After 2 years, I might say. And I love this man to this day. He bought his own territory. I'm not sure what it called. Stake. He had a stake out there and he went out there and he would spend 4 months of his life out there in the weather and whatever it was doing. And he was mining gold, sleuthing for gold. The guy started off sleuthing sand at Home Depot and got a little bit of gold there. He got a little gold fever. He went out to Alaska and bought a stake, and they built a sleuth, patented a certain type of sleuth. And he's a brilliant man. Don't get me wrong. He's smart. Richard T. Kiyosaki. He's a brilliant man, but he went out there and he mined all this gold. And for some years, he finally comes back. He brings me this bag of gold. I could fit it like in my hand here. I'm like, man, you got me some gold. He goes, yep, I'm going to pay you back the 15 grand. We kind of got that paid back. And here's your return. And he gave me another bag of gold. It was a little smaller. He said, here you go. I said, okay. Thanks for the gold, bro. I put it in a safe for a little bit. And then I pull it out and look at it every now and then. And I called him up one day. I said, hey, man, what am I supposed to do with all this gold? I can't eat it. I can't. I can't. I mean, I can't go to the store and I can't convert. Bitcoin's easier to convert than gold. He goes, well, you got to go get it melted down into bars, and then you got to get it weighed, and then you got to prove that it's the right kind of gold. And then when you're all done, which it will be, don't worry. When you're all done with that, you melt it back into bars, and then you go take it to a place that converts that for you. And then they take a conversion fee, and then you have to pay tax on it, and then you got to turn it into the government. And I'm like, what? What is it worth when I'm done? He goes, oh, you should just hang on to it. Hang on to it. I don't know. Here's the problem with gold, everybody. Gold is, when you buy gold, you're betting against the US dollar. And if you're betting against the US dollar, then you're betting against America. And I feel like that is a false narrative. I think that's a counterintuitive. I think that's not something that we should be doing as Americans. I'm not turning this to a holy roller, God, country, guns, and Bibles. I'm just telling you, man, I'm rooting for America. I cannot. It's like me thinking that the Detroit Lions might lose a game and the spread is 7 points. And I literally bet against the Lions, but take the points. I can't do that. I don't know why I'm unleashing the Detroit Lions right now, because it was such a bitter, jagged pill. I did that speech once too. But here's the thing. That's the same thing with gold. How can you root against your team? I don't care if it's money. I don't care if it's profits. You're like, why would you put yourself in that position? And once you get the gold, you can't eat it. You can't spend it. And then you got to convert it. And so all I'm trying to say is, that's a story for you about gold. You can use it however you want. I think it looks good on my chain, but I still can't eat it. And if you ever tried to take gold to the pawn shop, or I tried, I've done it. Have you ever went to go buy gold at the pawn shop? Have you ever tried to do anything at a resale? It's less than half of what you paid for it. So I'm not buying this whole Richard T. Kiyosaki gold. And so I'm just going to play this reel for you guys. And I'm just going to play it. And this is why it set me off. And I want to get some of your comments on this. And I want to get some of your thoughts on gold and all this. And I literally had a rebuttal. I had a rebuttal to this video. I wrote it out there. So sometimes, sometimes you make comments on these World Wide Web videos and people see your comments. So if you go out there and you see this video, you can see my fire at Richard. Here we go. Just let's listen to this. I'm gonna play it a couple times, and I just want you to just kind of listen to what this man's saying. And sure, put your investor's hat on, because I'd love to hear it. But put your God ears on. Put your natural instinctive ears on. Put your wired differently instinctive ears. Here we go. Here, let's listen. Richard T. Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, very famous, very successful man and book.
I use real estate as leverage to buy this.
Right.
So what I do is I'll borrow, let's say, $20 million. The cash flow buys this.
Right. So you're using government printed money for your own assets.
To buy this.
And then the income from the assets you convert into gold.
Yes. This is God's money. God put it here. God put this, I'm not religious, but, and this here was put by God. This here is to be flushed down the toilet. And that's what they're doing with it. But, oh, I made this much this month. Your job is to take this, convert to this, or convert to this. Not to brag, but I own tons of this.
How much?
I own the mines.
You own the mines?
I'm a capitalist.
Right.
I bought the biggest gold mine in America last July. It's in Utah.
So you're literally mining your own gold.
Amen.
Amen.
I found religion. I'm gonna put an altar there, and
You found religion. What gold is your religion?
I'll put every religion is in there. You can be Buddhist, Shinto, Catholic, Protestant, Muslim. I don't care. Just worship at the altar of gold.
You can't leverage.
Okay, we're gonna play this again, and I'm literally I could do the whole show on this, and maybe we will, because you guys know that I'm rogue this morning. It's Thursday morning, man. Tomorrow is your day off. All you students out there, God bless you. This is Todd. Good morning. I'm the author of the book, The Brand and the Attitudinal Disorder, Wired Differently. And we're about ready to kick this teaching session off. And I just want you to understand, when we come back, my friends, we are going to talk about Richard T. Kiyosaki and worshiping at the altar of gold.
Preview. Todd is not only a remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business, with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man.
The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity.
He is an influential entrepreneur and business speaker for over 30 years.
I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he's came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
All right. All right. I am going to kick this morning off. We already had our intro. We had a good time. We got lots of comments on here already. And like, this show is a little interesting because I am really going to be talking about the Wired Differently Success Loop. And we're going to wrap that up today. And I have some teachings on that I want to share with you. But I literally went off this morning off my rails when I stumbled on this reel with Richard T. Kiyosaki. And so I'm going to play it again. I played it in the first half of the show, and I got it loaded up here for you guys to see it. But I want to set you up for the second half. I want you to understand that this whole Wired Differently mindset, mission, ministry, and movement, say it in any order you want, is to build you personally, is to build you spiritually, and is to build you profitably. And all my teachings come from a biblical front, right? I appreciate the Bible. I believe every word in the Bible is true. I believe God breathed those words in Galatians. He talks about breathing words. These words, God believed these words. I wish I had the Bible right here, but the ruach, the spirit, the Jewish word ruach is breathed into this Bible, into the Bible. So when you read any version of the Bible, I believe it's true, in fact, and it's God's word. And I'm not parsing his words. I'm not taking pieces of them out and putting them in other places. I'm not replicating it in any other way. And I know some people are a little more liberal on that. I'm just not. And that's just who I am, right? I'm a God and country dude, and I am a wired differently person. And the people that are following me are God and country believers, spirit-driven, ruach-driven, Bible-appreciating people. And so when I talk about money and I talk about Wired Differently success and I talk about building you spiritually, personally, and profitably, I want you to understand the word profitably means fruitful. And we need to figure out in this success loop that we're going to be talking about after we go back to this video is what do we really want in life? What do we really want out of this thing we call life here? What is it that we're here for? Why are we here? What do we want? Because at the end of the day, I don't care who you are, you want something. And you can say, Todd, that's why you're a capitalist, you're a Republican, you're a conservative, you're a God person, why do you have to want something? Why can't you give? Well, you know what? I do give because I want to give, right? So you need to understand that you were created to have desires. Well, there's the basic things: food, water, love. I mean, desires, wants. That's so. And so when we talk about wired differently, we're talking about a spiritual, biblical driven, not denominational practice of finding your best of your desires and attaining them. And so what I want you to understand is that we were created by God, right, in his image to be able to achieve these things, to go get these things, to desire these things. And he's given us this ability to do it, right? And that's what's called free will. And so a lot of us walk around this world as earthlings, not misfits. I'm a misfit. I have Christ in my life. I have Christ driving me. And when I have bad thoughts in my head, I got God. I got the angel coming up on my shoulder. Oh, that's dumb, bro. And because I have God in my life, and because I am wired differently in creation stage, and I'm wired differently because I know how to actualize my mind to get the things that I want. And last but not least, I have the salvation of Christ and God in me. Then I have indicators that tell me when I watch a video like Richard T. Kiyosaki, I got alarms going off, whoop, 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 whoop. And I need you to understand that I want you to have the same alarms. I want alarms to be your base and then to be driven by God and his word. And so, yeah, money's something I have to deal a lot with. I mean, we all have to deal with money. Some of us have more money than others, but that doesn't make them a richer or a poorer person. You know, I want to help you understand that wealth is driven by joy, and joy is driven by God, because joy just happens. Wealth is just something that happens through your investments and your time and your good business posturing. But you see, when we say, what do you want? I'm getting into successionary trading. I'm going to get to that after this. I'm going to go back to the video. And I want to ask you, what do you want? What does this video make you feel? I'm going to play it 2 more times. Some of you are new followers. I'm going to play it 2 more times. And I just want you to tell me how this makes you feel. Because this is not a wire differently stance. I may agree with some of his fiscal investment ideas, but I do not agree with this man. I do not agree with this man. Let's listen.
Leverage gold the same way you can leverage real estate, can you?
You're brilliant, man.
Thank you.
I use real estate as leverage to buy this.
Right.
So what I do is I'll borrow, let's say, $20 million. The cash flow buys this.
Right. So you're using government printed money for your own assets
to buy this.
And then the income from the assets you convert into gold.
Yes, this is God's money. God put it here. God put this, I'm not religious, but and this here was put by God. This here is to be flushed down the toilet. And that's what they're doing with it. But, oh, I made this much this month. Your job is to take this, convert to this, or convert to this. Not to brag, but I own tons of this.
How much? How
I own the mines.
You own the mines?
I'm a capitalist.
Right.
I bought the biggest gold mine in America last year, last July. It's in Utah.
So you're literally mining your own gold.
Amen.
Amen.
I found religion. I'm gonna put an altar there, and
You found religion. What gold is your religion?
I'll put every religion is in there. You can be Buddhist, Shinto, Catholic, Protestant, Muslim. I don't care. Just worship at the altar of gold.
You can't leverage gold.
Okay, so I got lots of comments here, and I know people, you, me, we're apprehensive to judge other people. We're not called to judge, but I'm going to call this guy out here, because as much as I respect his writings in Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I do leverage my debt on many occasions. I have, but not like this. Unfortunately, this is a person whose story is run its course. Everyone's taken the advice that he took to get successful in his form of success, and they're running it. And it's like, it's old news. And so you have to always reinvent yourself, right? You have to become disruptive again. You have to be a sneaky smart, because everybody wants a shortcut to being successful. They don't really, that's why they buy a coach. That's why they go to school. They want to figure out how other people are doing. They can do it a little quicker, a little faster. Well, listen, this guy here, Richard T. Kiyosaki, is, to me, he's a desperate person at this juncture, because even when you watch him in this video, I know I'm probably gonna get some hate mail, but I'm not feeling good about the way he smiles. And sure, just go out and borrow $20 million and buy a mining company. Do you realize how absurd that sounds to the people I'm coaching? Do you realize how absurd that sounds to the people that are out there busting their? Do you realize, like, Margaret in the Morning goes rogue? If Margaret in the Morning was on this show and she saw this video, she would hunt that dude down, and I think she put him in a stranglehold. Now, I'm not trying to put people on the spot, but I'm just telling you, real people, real places, real troubles, real trauma. This is absurd. And you've got this guy going along with it, and the first thing he says to him is he's brilliant, when he's not brilliant, by putting him on the show and licking Richard T. Kiyosaki's boots. Listen, I know I see a comment. Oh boy. Well, listen, go ahead. Go borrow $20 million and buy a mining company. And let's just say, for an instance, interest rates continue to go down again, right? All of the gold pricing goes down, right? Because as interest rates go down, the value of gold goes down. As interest rates move, value of gold shifts, right? And so there's this conduit, however you want to look at it, the value of gold is going to adjust by disruption either way. And this guy is telling us at this time of the phase that he's smarter than everybody else because he's borrowed $20 million. I don't know that he's borrowed it at 8%, because at 8%, I think he should be running scared, because that's the market price right now, right? At the end of the day, if you're borrowing at 8, interest goes down, gold becomes less valuable, money becomes the US dollar. So you're voting on the dollar to be junk. You're voting on the dollar to be something you flush down the toilet. Now, we know that it is going crazy right now and it's not doing very well, but I'm still not going to cheer against the American dollar. I get it, man. It's just like cheering against Biden. Unfortunately, I don't care for the dude. I don't care for his politics. I don't care for his policies, but I still can't vote against America. So when I listen to this video, I hear a lot of things. And the most disturbing of all of the science behind it isn't that he doesn't have the financing piece correct all the time. It's just that he wants to worship at the altar of gold. And there's another piece in this video where he quickly says, I worship at the altar of gold, but I'm not religious. Okay, so what is your value system? It's clear. It's gold. And so how am I using this for my teaching today? And I don't care for Richard T. Kiyosaki. I don't care for what he stands for. I don't care for how he does it. And Grant Cardone takes the same mindset on how to leverage all this stuff. Yes, I've done it in batches, but I don't believe ever that you should worship at the altar of gold. I don't believe you should worship at the altar of leveraging all your assets to gain something as certainly as skeptical as gold. In the front end of the show, I told a story about mining for gold. I had a friend go out to Alaska and he mined for gold, and I gave him $15,000 and got him out there to help him out. And he came back, and after a couple of years, he paid me back the 15 grand I loaded him, and he was supposed to bring me a profit back of gold. And he brought me a bag of gold. He said, thanks, here's your 15 grand back, and here's some gold for your trouble. And I got a little handful of gold, a bag of gold. It was really impressive to see how dense it was, and the fact that God did make such a precious metal like that. I'll agree with Richard T. Kiyosaki in that regard. But I will tell you this. I couldn't do anything with the gold. I couldn't eat it. I couldn't cash it in. I had to melt it down. I had to pay tax on it. I had to get it tested. And then they had to track it. And once I made it, and it was bizarre. Why are people out there so desperate to give you shortcuts to getting rich and to making themselves look this way. I mean, just the way he said that, I bought the mind. He's so smart. I don't know. I know this is a little off color for me, but I feel like I've got to protect you. I mean, I know you're grown-ups and you're adults and everything, but I feel like, I mean, if you don't feel something a little bit of gremlin about this reel, then I'm concerned for you. It's off kilter. And so the teaching point I want to give you right now is that the Wired Differently success loop is not built around leveraging your debt and trying to swap interest for bigger income, right? It's not done that way. Sure, it's a business move, but at the end of the day, I'm a business coach, but I'm more concerned about building you personally, spiritually, and profitably. And profitably is about, what do you want? Now, it just so happens that Richard T. Kiyosaki, right? Richard T. Kiyosaki. Let's look at this dude real quick before I get out of here. What he wants.
The same way you can leverage real estate, can you?
You're brilliant, man.
What he wants is to be extremely, extremely wealthy, right? What he wants.
Thank you.
I use real estate.
He wants real estate. He wants these things, this gold, to be his identity. His identity is to be super smart. His identity is to game the system. His identity is to give you shortcuts on how to become wealthy by leveraging debt and putting it in different places. Well, I think he's out tricked the trickster. By denouncing he has no value in God, he only announces that he only has value in his own brainwaves, his own trickery, his own systems, and his own value to worship at the altar of gold. I've been guilty of chasing money, chasing deals. I don't want you to be a victim of that. I don't want you to be guilty of that. I want you to understand that the success loop is really how to capture what you want in life. And I can't help Richard T. Kiyosaki. He's way too smart for me. You would ask him, he wouldn't call me brilliant. I can't, like, he gets what he wants. He knew what he wanted. He got the actualization phase down. He got the creation phase down. Then he got the actualization down. Is a very good example of somebody, right? Of somebody who clearly does not want God in his life. He says it in the video. And the only thing he's focused on is money. Only thing he's focused on is gold, and he has a lot of it, according to what he says. Now, you never know what people are for real. I mean, they say whatever they want. I've shown people my balance. I'm willing to. Anyone ever want to call me out, and I'm going to show you exactly where I'm at, what I have, how I do it. But here's the point. This is the example of understanding. He has creation phase, he has actualization phase, but he is clearly on this video said he's not religious. He doesn't believe in God. Doesn't believe in a God, doesn't believe in the religious side of it. He's speaking everything to everything. He's worshiping he's religious towards money is what I believe he's saying. And if he wants to come on my show and defend himself, I would love to have him do that, because I would hope that he would be more religious. I hope that he would accept Christ and understand that. But his worship is at the altar of gold. And so that is very clear. He never got to salvation. He never got to stage 3. So there's no check valve in his subconscious saying, hey, why would you say I found God, but at the altar of gold? Like if God was in him, God wouldn't allow it, would say, man, don't say that. That's not how you believe. That's not how I want more importantly, I don't want other people to hear that. I don't want other people to believe that. And so here's the thing I'm going to close with today is that the success loop starts with, do you know what you want? Right? And Richard T. Kiyosaki knows what he wants, and he got it. And that's a lot of gold, so much gold that he borrowed $20 million to go buy a whole gold mining company. He got what he wanted. But what he wanted to make clear to you was that he did it on his own. He did it with no help from God, nothing inspired by God. He was so smart, so sneaky, so tricky, so brilliant that he made millions and maybe billions, who knows, because he did it on his own. He worshiped at the altar of gold. Why are different people aren't that? They're like Chad Brewmeister. They're like Chris Billups. They're like Chad Michael. They're like Heather David. They're like Abby Mavis. They're like Tracy Saylor. They're like me. They're like Jan Gates. They're like all these people out there that are understanding what they want, right? What they want. They're like Margaret. They understand what they want, and they're taking what means they have to take the resources that God has given them to go get the things they want, and the things that they want are good and survival instincts and things of that nature for the betterment of others. Listen, I'm telling you, man. That's the video. That's the worship at the altar of God, right? That we want things for others. So if you know that you can get what you want, make sure you know that what you want is of God. That's the message. Thank you, Richard T. Kiyosaki, for allowing me to make a great message out of a reel that's a turd. All right. Well, you guys have a great day. It's Thursday. You got Friday off. Get your homework done. Get your study done. What do you really want? Think about what you want. Don't be a turd. God bless you guys. Man, I love my job. We'll see you next week.